July 25, 1972, cousins sued in the United States Public Health Service. Somebody tipped them off, and somebody talked about one of their most secret and protected projects. Angry and devastated families demanded millions of dollars from the organization. Everything had been unveiled, and now everyone wanted to dismiss the guilt. The high-functioning people in the government and important positions in the USPHS claimed they didn't know anything about it, and everyone, of course, publicly apologized.
What the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry.
But the damage had been done. The little confidence and trust they had been building with the Afro-American community and the US citizens was all gone, vanished in a glimpse, destroyed by 39 years of lies and gaslighting from the organization. 39 years in which hundreds of innocent Afro-Americans were basically tortured for what the PHS would probably say was on the name of science. This is the Syphilis Tuskegee Experiment, and we will unveil what really happened. The Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment was a study that was designed to monitor the progression of untreated syphilis in an underserved population. During this time, syphilis was extremely dangerous, and it was one of the most common STDs in America. Syphilis could cause permanent damage to a person's brain, heart, and nervous system, could even cause death. Doctors in the public health service wanted to understand why black men were contracting syphilis at much higher rates than white men. They wanted to know if the disease was being spread in certain communities, what the social and economic factors were that were contributing to the spread of syphilis, and what kind of treatments were most effective for the disease. So it all starts. 1932, the US Public Health Service, in partnership with the Tuskegee Institute, began recruiting African American men in Macon Country, Alabama, for a study on the natural history of syphilis in the Negro male. The original experiment was supposed to be for only 6 months. It was extensively advertised to the public as a way for African Americans to get free healthcare and meals. Its true intentions would not be revealed until 40 years later. In 1933, the study finally began. The participants were supposed to come twice yearly to receive treatment. Since doctors told them they were receiving treatment for bad blood, little did they know most of them had advanced syphilis, and the doctors gave them placebos to observe how syphilis slowly killed them. However, years passed and effective treatment was discovered for syphilis, and this is where the experiment became even more disgusting. The men in the experiment had a way out of syphilis, with simple penicillin becoming the worldwide treatment for the disease, reducing its mortality massively. But the conductors of the experiment decided to continue and not tell any of the infected people they had. The disease consumed these men, many passing it on to their families and affecting thousands of people. Once syphilis had been contracted by many of the families, the PHS thought it was a good idea to also offer the families free medical healthcare and meals, so they could also watch the progression of the disease. With this, the government was letting men, women, and children become useless because of the effects of the disease. By the 1960s, the study had been going on for over 25 years. There began to be some criticism of the study. Medical professionals and community leaders pointed out the experiment as having something bizarre occurring behind the scenes, but everything continued, with nothing official about the experiment's inhumane nature being released to the public. Years passed, and the bubble of experiment became more unstable each time. In 1972, a man named Peter Buxton changed everything. He did not see these people's lives as just an experiment and disagreed with the experiment's ethics. So he, with a lot of courage, leaked the information into the press and officially became the whistleblower of the experiment. The bubble finally burst. Hundreds of journals immediately reported the story. Citizens murdered by the US government. The Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment, human rights violation, were only some of the newspapers and media headlines on that day. The country was on fire. They were enraged at what had happened to these people. The Afro-American community lost all of its trust in the government and the health sector. Public outrage consumed the government, making it impossible for them to defend this investigation. Of course, the experiment was immediately shut down, and the fight against the government just began. Lawsuits started raining on the US, which was finally settled in 1974, with $10 million being given to the participants and the families, which for many seemed a small price to pay for the suffering and deaths of hundreds of civilians. By 1975, the government publicly apologized for the experiment and provided compensation for the families, but more was needed. A dark stain had marked the US government, and the legacy of the United States Public Health Service was and will be impossible to restore. The fact that the USPHS could conduct such an inhumane and unethical study for so long reflects the deep-seated racism and discrimination that has plagued our society for far too long. The Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment is a stark reminder of the need for greater oversight and accountability in the medical and scientific communities. Just like this, governments have made countless experiments that we know little to nothing about. Dark and buried crunches of history, which is not taught anywhere, and information that maybe we should not know at all. Forgotten history, like Project Babylon, the secret war against use, the Stargate Project, Project MK Ultra, and so much more. We will uncover and report these topics with videos during the following weeks, without caring if we should or not know this information. So subscribe and activate notifications if you are interested in the history that few people know. And see you in the next one.